Good morning, children.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
teacher.
teacher.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning. Good morning. Fine. How are you all?
Good morning, teacher.
Fine,
Fine,
teacher.
ma'am.
Fine, teacher.
Fine. Okay. So, did you all had your breakfast?
Ah,
Yes, ma'am.
Teacher,
Yes.
yes,
no,
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah.
Breakfast is
Everyone
not
is
ready.
sitting after having breakfast, right?
No, teacher. In our house, breakfast is
No, ma'am.
yet ready.
Jan, your breakfast is not ready yet. Huh?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Okay. So after the first period, you will have breakfast, huh?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
teacher.
Okay, fine. Anyhow, breakfast is the brain food, so don't skip your breakfast. Okay, every day you should have your breakfast, then only the day will be good. And you all may be wondering why I am standing here. Is it?
Yes, teacher. Augmented reality class.
Augmented
Yeah,
We have
very
reality
seen,
good.
class.
we have seen
So,
in the timetable.
okay. So you all have been experiencing this augmented reality classes, and that is the special technology, and you are very lucky to have it often, isn't it? Once in a while, in weekly basis or a monthly basis, twice at least, you are having the augmented reality classes. So very good. Did you like these reality classes?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Teacher.
Okay. Yeah. And
Teacher,
yeah.
in timetable, first I thought, what is this air?
Yeah.
Then I think twice. Then I realized that it is
Okay.
augmented reality.
Okay, Jan. Yeah. So you became live, huh? Morning itself, you got up ready and prepared for the class. Very good. Okay. So we were discussing on chapter 2, that is matter around us pure? So that was what we were discussing in the previous classes, and I hope few of the things how matter can be classified we have already discussed. So further we will be discussing. So in this pandemic time, we all are sitting at home. And did you move out of your house?
No, ma'am.
No, not even out of the house you will go. Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I have
Yeah, in the
honest
yeah. Have you
yes,
visited?
teacher.
Do you have a garden at your home?
Sir, no garden.
Yes,
The
teacher.
one land is there down,
Oh, okay.
and a
Barren land
pond
is
is
there.
there.
You haven't done anything. Okay. So still, anyhow, in that also. So here also, I am going to take you to the garden outside here. Huh? So here you can see that is you have got a garden soil. And have you ever observed? Have you ever touched the soil and taken it and seen how is the components here? Huh? Have you ever observed?
No, ma'am.
Yes,
Does
Yes,
it
teacher.
teacher.
is it the same kind? If you take the garden soil, is it made of the same kind of substances?
Yes,
No.
teacher.
No,
No.
no. So this matter, how can you? That is, it is not of the same kind. You can see different kinds. Some stone pieces can be there. Some humus will be there. Some plant materials, living organisms will be there. Or so many things will be present. It is not made up of one single component. But if you take the case of sugar, how is it? Sugar, is it made up of one component, or there also you see different kinds of components present in sugar?
Only one component.
Only one
One
component.
component.
So basically, how can we classify matter? How can we classify?
Substances.
Pure and impure.
Yeah, very good. Matter can be classified as pure substances and impure substances. So that is the basic classification of classifying matter into two, that is pure and impure substances. Now, what are the characteristics of pure substances? Pure substances will be made up of only one kind of particles. There will be only one kind of particles present in there. It will be homogeneous throughout its mass. Throughout, if you see, it will be homogeneous, and you cannot separate the constituents present using the physical processes. That is, whatever things are present in those pure substances, you are not able to separate out. It is as one substance itself. Then it will be having a fixed composition, that is, pure substances will have a fixed composition. They will be having fixed melting point and boiling point. That is very important, because if you want to identify whether a substance is pure or not, what you should do? What you should check for?
Melting point and
Yeah,
boiling
check for
point.
its melting point and boiling point. If it is fixed, then you will be clearly you can understand that it is made up of pure substances. And some examples of pure substances you can see: hydrogen. Have you ever observed anywhere written like this? Hydrogen, H2?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So H2 represents what? Hydrogen. What does O2 represent?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Yeah. What does N2 represent?
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen. So that is the representation. Okay, all these are gases. Can we see these gases? No, because they are colorless gases. We are not able to see. They are all present in the atmosphere here itself, but we cannot see them. But we represent them using these symbols. So these are some of the properties of pure substances. Then this next what comes? Impure substances. So what are the properties of impure substances? They will be made up of more than one kind of particles. That is, in any impure substances, what can you call impure substances otherwise? Mixtures. Yeah, very good. So impure substances we can also call as mixtures. So they will be made up of two or more kinds of particles, or which will not be chemically bonded. In mixtures, they will be just simply mixed. You all have mixtures for your evening snack and all. So you can see lot of kind of things will be present in the mixture, but they are not chemically bonded, isn't it? Is it homogeneous throughout? If you see, is it the same kind? No. So it can be, some cases it can be homogeneous mixtures, sometimes it can be heterogeneous mixtures also. Now can you separate the constituents present in there? In the mixture which you have, can you separate out the constituents? All the bundis you can separate, all the ground nuts, all the curry leaves, can you separate out? Yes. So what will be that
Yes,
method
teacher.
of separation you will be calling?
Physical method.
Physical process. Can you name that process of hand picking? Yeah, very good. Hand picking. Using hand picking, you can separate out the constituents, isn't it? So in the case of mixtures, then do they have fixed composition? No. So mixtures does not have a fixed composition, and they will not be having a fixed melting point and boiling point. So any impure substance, if you take, their boiling point and melting point will not be fixed. Some of the examples, this seawater. Seawater, is it made up of just one constituent? No. So many, what will be present in seawater? Salt will be present.
Salt.
Different kinds of salts will be present. Dust will be there. Sand will be there. So many things. So it is an example for mixture. Then this air. Air, is it a pure substance or a mixture? Mixture of what all things? Air. Yeah, nitrogen is there, oxygen is there, helium, argon, carbon dioxide, so many gases are present. So same with jaggery also. Jaggery also, it is not a single substance. There will be sugar, so many other constituents will be present in the case of jaggery. So these are the properties of impure substances. Now, these pure substances, how can we classify these pure substances? Yeah, very good. Pure substances can be classified as elements and compounds. That is the classification of pure substances. Now, I will show you some pure substances, like some elements I will show you. You just identify. This first one which we use in our electrical wires, which element is it? Copper, right, copper. Then used for making ornaments? Gold, yeah, that gold is also a pure substance and it is an element. What is this in this bottle?
Sulfur.
Bottle.
Phosphorus. Sodium.
Yeah, sodium. That is the metal which is stored in kerosene. Which metal do we store in kerosene? Sodium. So that is, it is stored in kerosene. So this is example for an element, sodium. And this yellow colored element? Sulfur. Yeah, very good. So there's so many, these are all elements, isn't it? So what is the definition for element? What are elements? Elements are substances which cannot be split up into one or more simpler constituents by applying heat, light or electricity. So if we cannot break down a substance further using heat, light or electricity, we call them as elements. And elements will be made up of only one kind of particles. In any elements you take, if you take hydrogen will be made up of which element? Hydrogen. Oxygen will be made up of? Oxygen. Copper will be made up of? Copper. We represent copper using which symbol? Cu. Okay. What is this Fe? Iron, yes, iron is represented using the symbol Fe. So all these are
Fe.
examples for elements. So elements are substances which cannot be broken down into simpler substances using heat, light or electricity. So that is the example for elements. Now check out for some other examples. So here what is this first one? What's it? Can you identify? Which? Huh?
Salt.
Which we use in our cake, you think?
Baking soda.
Baking soda. Okay, that is baking soda. This one, when we feel very tired, we have this. What is it?
Glucose.
Glucose. Yeah, easily digestible by our body. This one, whenever we feel
Water.
water. That is, and this one,
Salt.
yeah, salt. And this one, blue colored substance.
Copper sulfate.
Copper sulfate. Very good. Yeah, copper sulfate. So these are all not elements. In here, elements are combined chemically to form what? Compounds. So what are compounds? Compounds are made up of two or more elements which are chemically bonded in fixed proportion by mass. And they will be made up of more than one kind of atoms. In any compound you take, they will be made up of more than one kind of atoms. Like if you take water, is an example for compound. Now, what are the atoms present in water?
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen and oxygen. Now, they are chemically bonded. Hydrogen and oxygen are chemically bonded in fixed proportion. What is the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in there? 2:1. 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So, 2:1 ratio, they are chemically bonded to form the compound water. And these properties of the compound will be entirely different from that of the constituent particles. You can take the case of water itself. Water, you said it is made up of hydrogen. So, hydrogen is a highly inflammable substance, isn't it? It will catch fire immediately. What about oxygen?
Supports fire.
Supports burning. It helps to undergo combustion. But when they two combine, hydrogen and oxygen chemically combine, you will get water. What properties water shows?
It
Extinguishes the fire. So, entirely different property from the constituents. So, in the case of compounds, compounds show entirely different property compared to the constituents present in the compounds. Okay. So, that is regarding the definition and the properties of compounds. Now, are you ready to see an activity to differentiate between this
Yes, teacher.
elements, compounds
teacher.
and mixtures? Are you all ready?
Yes.
Yeah. So, today I have a special guest with me. My twin sister is there who will be performing the experiment today. Are you all ready to welcome her?
Yes, teacher.
Yes. So, shall I call her? Yes. Okay. So, come on, teacher. Good morning, teacher. Good morning, children. How are you all? Fine. Very
teacher.
good. So, today I have come to make you do an activity to distinguish between elements, compounds and mixtures. Are you all ready? Yes. So, let's do
teacher.
an activity.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So, let's see the activity now. How to do the activity. So, in that activity, we will be taking iron fillings. That is iron powder we have taken, and we have taken sulfur powder. So, two elements are taken, and iron fillings, it is represented by what symbol? Fe. Okay, iron is a metal and sulfur is represented by S, and sulfur is a non-metal. Okay, iron is a metal and sulfur is a non-metal. Now, these iron, when you take, it will be made up of only one kind of atoms. In the case of iron, you can see only one kind of atoms will be present. And if you take the case of sulfur, sulfur will be made up of only one kind of atoms, that is of sulfur. Okay, so you have taken two things, that is iron fillings and sulfur. Sulfur is a yellow colored powder, iron is a black colored substance or grey colored substance. Now, what property do these iron show? Has it got any special property that it can be attracted to something?
Magnet.
Yeah, magnet. Iron shows the property of getting attracted to magnet, but sulfur being a non-metal, it does not show the property to get attracted. Okay, so we will see how whether if we for that what do we need a bar magnet, isn't it? So a bar magnet is taken. So since I don't want to spoil my magnet, I will wrap it in a tissue paper, and when I bring near this iron fillings, what will happen?
It will attract.
It will get attracted. Do you see? Yeah, it gets attracted. So easily, if I use the tissue paper, easily I can remove it. Now the same bar magnet, if I bring near sulfur powder, what will happen? It will not get attracted, isn't it? Sulfur, if you bring close to magnet, if you bring close to sulfur, it is not going to get attracted. So sulfur is a not magnetic material, but iron is a magnetic material. So each has got its own properties. Iron has got magnetic properties, but sulfur does not have. Now, if we mix these two substances, if we mix iron and sulfur together, what will it form?
A mixture.
A mixture, isn't it? Mixture of iron fillings and sulfur. So we'll mix it. So is it a homogeneous or a heterogeneous one? Heterogeneous. You cannot see equally being distributed. Some cases more of iron, some places more of sulfur. So it is a heterogeneous mixture. Now we said mixtures, the constituents can be separated by physical method. So which physical method separation technique will be using? Magnet itself we will bring near to this mixture. What you can see? The iron will get attracted to magnet. So easily you can separate out iron from this iron sulfur mixture. That is, when it is made into a mixture, it retains its properties. We said the constituents does not lose the properties. They retain their properties. So using this magnetic separation technique, we can separate out all the constituents, that is the iron present in the mixture of iron and sulfur. Okay, but there may be some impurities are there which will still remain in there. So it will take time. All the iron particles you can easily separate out using this magnetic separation. So understood, the constituents retains their property and can be separated. Okay. Now we will mix these two, that is iron filling and sulfur. We will mix it. I have put this in a crucible and a china dish, because if I want to make them react, what should I give them? If they simply sit there, will they react?
Heat.
No. So what should I do?
Heat.
Yeah, I have to heat it, isn't it? I have to provide heat. So this is a, see, you have mixed iron fillings and sulfur properly. You have taken in a china dish. Now, I will not be giving it a direct heat, because I will not heat this substance. It is a highly explosive reaction. So what I will do, I will heat a steel bar. A steel bar will be heated to a very high temperature. Then that steel bar, I will bring it near to this crucible of this china dish of, that is mixture of iron fillings and sulfur. Now you can see, when this heat is given to this mixture, what happens? Sulfur will start to melt. Okay, sulfur will start to melt, and immediately it is, I said, it is a highly explosive reaction. That is the reaction, it itself will produce heat. So such reactions which produce heat, they will be highly exothermic. So it will take little bit, after 2 minutes, if you continue to give the heat, what will happen? The sulfur will get melted. Slowly it will start to react with the iron fillings there, and they are chemically combining. Now they are not separate. They are chemically combining, and together what will they form? Iron and sulfur, when chemically combine, what will they form?
Iron sulfur.
Iron sulfide. See, this reaction has started to move faster. So because I said it is already exothermic. Now if I touch it, what will happen? It will be very hot, isn't it? Yeah, it's very hot because it is highly exothermic reaction. So reactions which produces heat we call as what? Exothermic reaction. So here you can see this iron sulfide is formed. That is, since it is very hot, that is why you can see its color to be reddish orange in color, but when it gets cooled, it will be a black colored substance. Black colored iron sulfide will be formed, and in here you cannot, no more you can see the properties of iron and sulfur separately. You cannot show them, see the magnetic property of iron there. Now if you bring a magnet, iron will not get attracted. So when it forms a compound, it loses the properties, the constituents will lose the properties. So that is about the differentiation between elements and compounds. Now impure substance. So pure substances we discussed. Next comes the impure substance. So impure substance or mixtures, how can we classify? We can classify them as homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures means they will be uniformly distributed, they will be consistent, the same throughout. Okay, such mixtures we call homogeneous mixtures, and there are mixtures which can be heterogeneous, means they will not be uniformly distributed, non-uniform distribution. Okay, and homogeneous mixtures we can also call as what?
Solutions.
Solutions. Homogeneous mixtures we can also call as solutions. Heterogeneous mixtures we can call as suspensions and colloids. So there are three mixtures which we are going to discuss, that is about solutions, suspensions and colloids. Okay, so for this also we have got an activity to do, that is we will be preparing the true solution of common salt, sugar and alum. Then we will be preparing a suspension of soil, chalk powder and fine sand in water. Then we will be preparing a colloidal solution of starch in water and egg albumin in water, and distinguish these solutions based on their transparency, filtration criteria and stability. So these are the three characteristics which we will be discussing in this activity, and for doing this activity we need lot of equipments like this test tubes. Test tubes we need, test tube stand is there. Then we will need china dish for doing the activity, tripod stand for heating, and we have got glass rod, then funnels for filtering, filter paper is there, then torch is needed. Okay. Now the chemicals which we need to do this experiment, so what all solutions we are going to prepare according to that: common salt is needed, sugar crystals are needed, alum is needed, then what chemical? Chalk powder we need, garden soil, egg albumin, fine sand, distilled water, starch. So these are the chemicals needed for the experiment, and for doing the activity, first we will be preparing the true solution of common salt, sugar and alum. So first we will prepare the common salt solution. So we need the test tubes, and in the first test tube we will be putting 1 gram of common salt. We will add distilled water to that. Then we will shake it properly, mix it properly with the help of thumb. Will it get dissolved? Salt, common salt, it gets dissolved. Okay, and you will get a clear solution, okay, of common salt. In the second test tube we will be adding sugar. Sugar crystals will be added, that is 1 gram of sugar crystal will be added. We will be adding distilled water, 10 ml of distilled water can be added. Here also we will close the mouth of the test tube and shake it properly, and we will see that the sugar will get completely dissolved and forms a true solution. No more you are able to see the sugar in the mixture. Okay, so that is the sugar solution. And in the third test tube you will mix alum. Alum is the material which you put in the what you call cleaning your wells, isn't it? And same, now we will add water to that. Here also we will close the mouth of the test tube and shake it properly. Here also we can see that the alum will get completely dissolved and you will get a true solution, that is a clear solution. You cannot see the alum anywhere, it gets completely dissolved. So 3 solutions are prepared. Next we are going to prepare suspensions, suspensions of soil, chalk powder and fine sand in water. So again we need test tubes for that. So we will keep the test tubes. Now in the test tube, first test tube, we will be adding what chemical? Garden soil will be put. Yeah, we will add water to that. Then what will happen? Here also we will close the mouth and shake it properly. So this garden soil, will it get completely dissolved?
No.
No. So here you can see the garden soil suspended in the mixture, isn't it? It will not get completely dissolved. Some will dissolve. So that is the garden soil. In the second test tube, what will we put? Chalk powder. Yeah, chalk powder, 1 gram of chalk powder we will put. We will add distilled water. Then close the mouth of the test tube. Here also we'll shake it properly. Will this chalk powder dissolve?
No.
No. Here also you can see chalk powder gets dispersed or suspended in the mixture here and there. So it is a non-uniform thing. It's not uniformly distributed. It is a heterogeneous mixture. Okay. Then third test tube, what will we add?
Sand.
Fine sand. Yes, fine sand is added in the third test tube. Again we will add water and then we will close the mouth of the test tube and shake it vigorously. Here also will you see sand getting dissolved in the water? No. So here also sand will be suspended here and there. So you have made 3 suspensions, one of soil, chalk powder and this fine sand in water. You can see the particles out there in the case of suspensions. Okay. Now next we will be preparing what? What solution?
Colloid.
Colloidal solution. So colloidal solution of starch we will be preparing. We will take a china dish. To that we will be adding some 10 grams or 1 gram of starch can be added. To that we will be adding water and we will be mixing it properly. Mix it properly. You will see that this starch particles will get completely dispersed in the mixture. Okay, so that is, you will not be, no more you will be able to see the starch particles in the mixture. So such it will appear to be homogeneous. So this colloidal solutions, they appear to be homogeneous and you will not be able to see them. Okay, next we will prepare what? Egg albumin colloidal solution. So for that what do you need? Egg albumin means what? Egg white. Okay, egg white. So half teaspoon of egg white you can take in the test tube. Then you will be adding distilled water to that. Then you have to close the mouth of the test tube and shake it properly for 1 minute. So you will see this egg white will get completely dispersed in the solution. No more you will be able to see where this egg white and where this water is. It's completely mixed. Okay, that is, it will be slightly turbid. It will not be clear. The solution may not be clear. It will be little cloudy in nature. So that is the colloidal solution of this water. So now we will filter all these contents and see whether we can filter out. Okay, we can filter out the contents. So first we will for that we will set up is like this. A funnel will be there. In that we will be putting the filter paper and below we will be putting the solution for collection. Then we will add the colloidal solution of egg albumin and we can see what these particles of egg albumin you cannot separate out using the filter paper. The second case you are going to pour chalk powder solution. Here can you separate out the chalk from in the filter paper?
Yes.
Yes. So chalk powder, since it does not get dissolved, it will remain as sediment there and collected in the filter paper. And third solution, that is a sugar solution you are pouring. Can you collect sugar in the filter paper? No. Sugar, since it is completely dissolved, you will not find any sediments of sugar in the paper. Okay. So that is how in the 3 cases of filtration criteria. Next is the stability. Stability means what? If you keep for some time, if the contents settle down, then it is unstable. If it does not settle down, means it is stable. So all the 3 solutions, colloidal solution, suspension and true solution we have taken, and each one we will be shaking it for 1 minute and keep it for resting for 5 minutes. Okay, so shake all the 3 test tubes properly and let it rest for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, what will you observe? In true solution, can you find sugar particles being suspended? No. So colloidal solutions, can you see the egg albumin settling down? Will it settle down? No. The egg albumin will be continuously dispersed in the solution itself. Okay. In the case of suspension, chalk, can you settle down?
Yes.
Yes. After some time in the test tube, you can see the chalk particles will get settled down. Okay. Then in the case of true solution, can you see the sugar settling down? No, you cannot see sugar settling down. So which all solutions are stable here? Colloidal solution and
True solution.
true solution. Colloidal solution and true solution are stable, but suspension is unstable. Okay, because it gets settled down when we keep it for some time. So that is the stability criterion of distinguishing. Now, if we pass a beam of light, through these mixtures, what will happen? The particles, you can see in the sugar solution, it is completely dissolved. You are not able to see the sugar particles if you pass the light. It is a homogeneous mixture. This sugar solution, it is a homogeneous mixture. It is consistent. It is uniform throughout. Okay. The particles of sugar are very small. That is why you are not able to see. The particles of sugar are very small and they do not scatter the beam of light. If you pass the light, they are not able to scatter the beam of light, and they are homogeneous, and that is why we are not able to see the path of light inside this solution. Okay, and such type of mixtures we call what? Solutions which do not scatter the beam of light. They are not able to scatter the beam of light, and the size of the particles in here is 1 nanometer, less than 1 nanometer. Nanometer is the unit used to measure the size of the particles. So, same manner, if we pass the light through chalk solution, suspension, chalk suspension, you can see the chalk particles dispersed, suspended here and there, and such type of mixtures we call heterogeneous mixtures, where these particles are non-uniformly distributed. Heterogeneous means what? They are non-uniform. Okay, then light, if you pass, you can see the particles being floating. Which movement they show? Zigzag movement, Brownian motion of it you can see. Then the path of light is visible inside the heterogeneous mixtures, and the particles you are able to see, isn't it? They are big enough to scatter the beam of light. That is, the chalk particles are big enough to scatter the beam of light, and you are able to see the path of light, isn't it? So that tendency to show the path of light we call as what? Tyndall effect. That is, able to see the path of light through a suspension. That is what we call Tyndall effect. And why we are able to see? Because the size of the particles are more than 1000 nanometers. That is why they are able to scatter the beam of light. Now, if you keep the suspension for some time, what will happen? The chalk particles will settle down. Now, if you pass the light through that, there are no more particles to disperse or scatter the light. So, what will happen? You will not be able to see the path of light. Now, if you take the colloidal solution, that is of egg albumin or starch, what will you see? You can clearly see the path of light inside the mixture. Why you are able to see the path of light? Because they are big enough to scatter the beam of light. Now, it appears to be homogeneous, but if you observe under a high powerful microscope, you can see all these particles will be dispersed in the mixture. So, actually they are heterogeneous but appear to be homogeneous. Any milk solution, anything you take like starch, egg albumin, all these are appear homogeneous but heterogeneous solutions, and we call them as colloids. Okay, so colloids are able to scatter the beam of light. So they show what? Tyndall effect. They show the Tyndall effect because their size of the particles is between 1 nanometer and 1000 nanometer. That size of the particles, that is why they are able to scatter the beam of light. Now, if you keep these solutions for some time, you will not find them settling down. Since they are not settling down, the particles are still there. So, they are able to scatter the beam of light. So, throughout they will show Tyndall effect, the path of light. Anytime if you pass through a colloidal solution, you can see. You can do at home also if you have got a laser torch and all. Using that you can try out this, whether you are able to see the path of light through this colloidal solutions. Okay. Now, that is regarding the Tyndall effect. Okay. Now, we will just do properties of solutions. What all things we discussed? That is, it is a homogeneous mixture. Solutions are homogeneous mixtures. Then size of the particle. What is the size of the particles in the case of solutions?
Less than
1 nanometer. The size of the particles is less than 1 nanometer. Can you filter out the particles?
No.
No, we cannot filter out the contents of a solution. Are they stable?
Yes.
Yeah, if we keep for
Yes.
some time, sugar solution, if we keep for some time, will it settle down? Sugar particles, will it settle down?
No.
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 So that
No.
means they are stable. Solutions are stable and they do not scatter the beam of light. Solutions, they do not scatter the beam of light means they do not show the Tyndall effect. Why they do not show the Tyndall effect? Why they don't show the Tyndall effect? Who is
Size
to...
of particle is too small.
Very good. The size of the particles are very small to scatter the beam of light. That is why we do not show the see the Tyndall effect in the case of solutions. Okay. Now next comes the properties of suspensions. So suspensions, it is actually a heterogeneous mixture, isn't it? It is not uniform throughout. You can see the particles through our naked eye. So that means what is the size of the particles in suspensions? More than 1000 nanometer. The size of the particles will be more than 1000 nanometers. Yes. Then can we filter out the contents?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can using the
Yes.
filter paper, you can filter out the contents because the size of the particles are big enough. So they will get separated if you use a filter paper. Okay. And are they stable or unstable?
Unstable.
Unstable. Suspensions, if you keep for some time, 5 minutes, if you keep, what will happen? They will be unstable. That is, it will settle down. So you will be able to separate out the particles. So they are unstable. Then do they show Tyndall effect?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they show in all the time. Do they show Tyndall effect? If we, if you keep for some time, what will happen? The particles will get settled down. So then will they show Tyndall effect?
No.
No. So may or may not show Tyndall effect. Okay, so whenever it is suspended, that time it will show Tyndall effect. But if the particles settle down, then it does not show the Tyndall effect. Okay. Then comes the properties of colloids. Colloids are what type of mixtures? Heterogeneous mixtures itself, but appear to be homogeneous. They appear to be homogeneous. And we cannot see the particles. Why? Because the size of the particles is small. What is the size of the particles in the case of colloids?
Between 1 and
Between 1 to 1000 nanometers. The size is between 1 to 1000 nanometers. So we are not able to see the particles, but that is why it appears to be homogeneous, but actually it is heterogeneous. Can we, are they stable or unstable?
Stable.
Stable, yeah. If you keep for some time, the egg albumin or stars, they are not going to settle down. So they will remain stable. They will be still dispersed in the medium. Okay. Now can we filter out the contents in the colloidal solution?
No.
No. We cannot filter out the contents through. Why we cannot filter out the contents?
because it dissolved.
Because the size of the particles are small. Small compared to the size of the filter paper. The pore in the filter paper there is a pore, no? So through the pores this colloidal particles will pass through. That is why you are not able to filter out. But there is a special technique called centrifugation. Using centrifugation, you can separate out the contents of the colloidal. You might have observed in laboratories when you go in to give your blood sample and all. So there a centrifuging machine is there. So using that machine, you can separate out the contents of the colloidal solution. So these are all the properties, and if you pass light through the colloidal solution, can you see the path of light?
Yes.
Yes, that means they show what?
Tyndall effect.
Tyndall effect. That is named after the scientist who discovered it. Okay, Tyndall effect. That is, you can see in the case of solution colloids here, since the particle size are big enough to scatter the beam of light, so you are able to see the path of light in colloidal solution. But in case of solutions, you cannot see the path of light. Why you are not able to see? Because the size of the particles are very
Less than 1.
less than 1 nanometer. So they are not able to scatter the beam of light. So you are not able to see the path of light. So solutions does not show Tyndall effect, but colloidal solutions definitely all time they show the Tyndall effect. Okay. Now we discussed about colloids. colloids, when we discussed about solutions, we have said what are the constituents in a solution? Abhinu?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the constituents present in a solution? If you want to make a solution, what constituents you need? What are the components present in a solution?
Solute.
Yeah, solute and solvent. Okay, good. Solute and solvent. So, preparing a solution, you need solute and solvents. What is solute? Solute is the one which is present in less quantity. Okay, the one which is present in less quantity we call solute. Sia Mohammed, what is solvent?
Which is present in larger quantity.
That is the component in a solution which is present in more quantity or larger quantity. We call them as the solvent. So, same manner, colloids also have got two constituents. If you want to make a colloid, you need two constituents. That is, one we call the dispersed phase and the other one we call the dispersion medium. Dispersed phase and dispersion medium are the two constituents present in a colloid. Okay, and dispersed phase is same as what? Solute. Dispersed phase is same as solute in a solvent. That is the one which will be present in lesser quantity. You call them as the dispersed phase. Okay, so dispersed phase is the solute-like component which is dispersed in the mixture. Okay, and dispersion medium is the same as solvent. Yeah, is same as solvent. So, in that medium only this dispersed phase will be distributed. Okay, so these are the two constituents, dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So, depending on the state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we have different types of colloids. Different types of colloids are there. First type of colloid you can see aerosol. Okay, so aerosol, it is actually what? Liquid dispersed in a gas. Liquid dispersed in a gas. That is, you can see fog and mist. Have you ever observed fog?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
So fog is actually what? What is the liquid there?
Water droplets.
Yeah, water droplets. That is the condensed water droplets. They are dispersed in air, isn't it? So that water droplets is the dispersed phase and air is the dispersion medium. Okay, so there's a fog, mist, all these are examples where liquid is dispersed in a gas. Okay, so next type of colloidal solution, it is what? Solid dispersed in a gas. If a solid is dispersed in a gas, like take the example of smoke. Smoke, you can see this. Have you ever this exhaust of vehicles and all? So all the what will be the solid particle there? Yeah, carbon particles, isn't it? This carbon particles, that is after the combustion of the fuel, these carbon particles, that is the solid particles, it will be dispersed in the gas. So such a type of colloid also we call aerosol, but actually it is solid in gas. Okay. Then next type of colloid we call as foam. Foam, that is gas is dispersed in a liquid. If a gas is dispersed in a liquid like the shaving cream. So in shaving cream you can see it foams a lot. If you just try to lather it up, it will foam a lot, isn't it? So gas is dispersed in a liquid. Such type of colloid we call foam. Now if you next type of colloid, that is if liquid is dispersed in a liquid, like the example of milk, you can see example of face cream here. So there what you can see, liquid is mixed in a liquid. Such type of colloids we call emulsion. So milk is an example of emulsion. So I said several types of colloids are there. So emulsion, how is it? Liquid will be dispersed in a liquid. Okay. The next type of colloid, that is solid. If some solid is dispersed in a liquid, you call it, like example mud. Mud, the solid particles are dispersed in a liquid, then it is an example for salt. You call it as salt. Same manner, milk of magnesia. What is this milk of magnesia? Hanan, milk of magnesia, what is it?
The burning of magnesium.
No, no, milk of magnesia, we take it for acidity. What is chemically milk of magnesia?
Magnesia hydroxide.
Yeah, very good. Magnesium hydroxide. Is it? Milk of magnesia is magnesium hydroxide. Okay, so magnesium, milk of magnesia is also an example where solid is dispersed in a liquid. That is example of the type of colloid called salt. The next type of colloid, that is gas in solid. If a gas is dispersed in a solid, that is another colloid, we call it type of colloid called foam. Foam, and examples for this foam are what? Sponge, rubber, pumice stone. Pumice, you know that which you rub on your foot in order to clean it. So if you put that stone in water, what will happen?
It will float.
It will float, because inside of that what is there?
Foam.
Lot of air is there, gas is there, pores are there, so that pores are filled with air, isn't it? So if a gas is there present in a solid, we call it what type of colloid? Foam. Okay, so this sponge, rubber, pumice, all these are examples for foam. Okay, foam type of colloid. Then next type of colloid, it is liquid dispersed in solid. The medium is solid, but some liquid is dispersed. Example for that, jelly is there, then cheese you have, then butter. All these are examples of which type of colloid? Gel. Okay, gel. This type of colloid we call what? Gel. So what is actually gel? Liquid is dispersed in a solid. Liquid is dispersed in a solid. Such type of colloids we call gel. Examples for that you can see jelly, cheese, butter, all these are examples for liquid dispersed in a solid. Then next type of colloid, that is solid in solid. If a solid is dispersed in solid, you call it solid salt. Solid salt. So all these glass types, these different kinds of glass, gems, all these are what type of colloids? Solid dispersed in a solid. So that is so there are different types of colloids like aerosol, foam, solid salt, gel, that depending on the state of the dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Okay, so that is about the different types of colloids, and that's what we discussed today, and we will do a recap of what things we have. First we discussed about pure substances. So what are pure substances? We said, and they can be classified as elements and compounds. Pure substances we can classify as elements and compounds. Elements are substances which cannot be split up into more than one kind of particles by the application of heat, light or electricity. Okay, but compounds, there two or more different kinds of atoms chemically bond to form a compound, and compounds, do they show the property of the constituents?
No.
No, they completely lose the properties, isn't it? The constituents properties are completely lost when they chemically combine and form a new substance. Okay, then we discussed about the mixtures, that is mixtures. There are two types of mixtures. One we call as homogeneous mixtures and the other we call as heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures we can also call it as solutions. Heterogeneous mixtures we can call as suspensions and colloids. Then we discussed the properties of solutions. That is, solutions, they will be homogeneous. There, what is the size of the particle? Less than 1 nanometer. The solutions will be stable. They cannot be filtered out, and they does not show the Tyndall effect because the size of the particles is very less. Then comes the properties of suspensions. Suspensions are what type of mixtures? Heterogeneous mixtures, and their size of the particle is more than 1000 nanometer. And are they stable? No,
Stable.
that is, they settle down after some time. So we call them as either unstable or not stable. And can we filter out the contents?
Yes.
Yes, we can separate out because the size of the particle is more, and they show Tyndall effect. Sometimes they may not if after settling down, if you observe. Okay, so these are the properties of suspensions. Then we discuss the properties of colloids. So colloids are what type of mixtures? Heterogeneous mixtures itself, but appear to be homogeneous. Okay. Then the size of the particle, what is the size of the particle? It is between 1 nanometer and 1000 nanometer, and are they stable?
Yes.
Yes, they are stable. And can we filter out the contents?
No.
Cannot be
No, we cannot filter out, but a special technique using which we can filter, what is it? Centrifugation. Using centrifugation, we can filter out the contents, and colloids will show the Tyndall effect because they are able to scatter the beam of light. So they will be showing the Tyndall effect. So that was what we discussed today. And did you all like the class?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the class, and the contents which we discussed also you understood with the help of our new technology of augmented reality. So thank you all, and thank you for all your cooperations, and do well. Okay, so thank you, children.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher. Have a nice day. Stay safe.
Thank you.